Hiring based on merit rather than equity has recently been a topic of debate in the realm of the general public. While equity-based hiring practices aim to promote diversity and inclusion, there are compelling arguments for why hiring on merit benefits companies more. While equity is undoubtedly important in creating a fair and inclusive workplace, prioritizing merit in hiring decisions can ultimately lead to a stronger business outcome and sustainable success for companies. Here's why. First, we must look at some background and what is driving the recent merit versus equity debate. It is clear that large money managers, such as BlackRock, who manages $10 trillion in assets, that's trillion with a T, and Vanguard, who manages $8 trillion in assets, again, that's T as in trillion, are the driving force behind this emphasis on diversity hiring. Together, they manage $18 trillion. The gross domestic product of the United States, and that is the value of all goods and services produced, is $21 trillion per year. So let's put these figures in perspective. It would take 34 20-foot long shipping containers to hold 1 billion $1 bills. It would take 33,381 20-foot shipping containers to hold $1 trillion. Their money is being held especially in the banking sector, and both investment managing companies use a stick rather than carrot to force cultural and social change that affect us all. They are our corporate overlords. If a company does not comply with BlackRock or Vanguard's push for implementing environmental, social, and governance or ESG policies and DEI or diversity, equity, and inclusion in hiring policies, the companies will be denied a loan to help keep their companies operating in a profitable manner. This money could be used for expansion, advertising, or buying stock, for instance. The denial of access to funds may make the difference between the success or failure of the individual business. It is crystal clear that businesses must go along with BlackRock and Vanguard's plan for global cultural change or face dire consequences. The big two asset managers use a big stick to force compliance. Written reports must be submitted to both companies, BlackRock and Vanguard, to prove how individual companies and nonprofits are complying with BlackRock and Vanguard's dictates. That being said, when it comes to hiring practices that implement DEI, or diversity, equity, and inclusion, there is an ongoing push to hire by equity rather than merit considerations. BlackRock and Vanguard strongly push for equity in hiring, the DEI equation, while promoting diversity and inclusion is crucial for fostering a fair and equal society. Hiring based solely on equity is not always the most beneficial approach for businesses. Instead, in the following, we will explore why hiring on merit rather than equity can ultimately benefit companies and our country more in terms of their growth and success. Let's define the terms. Merit. Merit refers to the quality or attribute of being deserving or worthy of something, often based on individual accomplishments, abilities, skills, or qualifications. It is a concept deeply rooted in the idea that rewards, opportunities, or recognition should be distributed based on one's performance or contributions. Meritocracy is a system in which individuals are rewarded or advanced based on their merit, which can encompass a range of factors such as hard work, talent, experience, and achievements. In essence, merit emphasizes the principle of earning through personal effort and excellence. On the other hand, there's equity. By definition, equity, forced on us by BlackRock and Vanguard, is concerned with the perceived fairness and justice in the distribution of resources, opportunities, and benefits. Its premise is based on the assumption that people have different starting points and face varying challenges due to factors like race, gender, socioeconomic status, and other forms of inequality. Equity aims to level the playing field by addressing these assumptions and making the push that everyone has access to the same opportunities and outcomes regardless of their background or circumstance. It also involves redistributive measures to correct perceived historic or systemic injustices. While it is important to acknowledge that diversity brings unique perspectives and experiences to the table, solely focusing on equity and diversity instead of merit during the hiring process can sometimes lead to compromising talent and skill levels. By prioritizing merit-based hiring practices, companies can ensure that they are selecting candidates who possess the necessary skills, experience, and expertise required for a particular role, whatever race, gender, or sexual orientation the individual may be. This approach allows businesses to build teams with people who have a proven track record of success in their respective fields. Furthermore, hiring based on merit promotes healthy competition within organizations. When employees know that they have been hired based on their abilities rather than external factors such as gender or ethnicity, it fosters a sense of motivation and drive among team members. This competitive environment encourages employees to continuously improve themselves professionally while contributing positively towards achieving organizational goals. Let's explore the definitions of merit and equity and then compare and contrast each. Let's compare on the basis of allocation. In merit hiring, allocation is based on an individual's performance and qualifications. In equity hiring, allocation is based on addressing systemic disparities and providing equal access. Look at how it applies to focus. We have merit. It focuses on rewarding individual and achievement. Then we have equity. Equity focuses on rectifying outdated historical and structural inequalities. Then let's look at how it applies to critique. In this circumstance, merit is criticized for potentially perpetuating existing inequalities if opportunities are not truly equal from the start. And, on the other hand, equity is criticized for potentially favoring equal outcomes at the expense of individual effort, abilities, qualifications, and motivation. Here are two short examples. Merit. Scholarships are based on academic performance and promotions are based on job performance. Equity. Affirmative action programs and policies to ensure access to education and jobs and promotions for truly underprivileged groups. Merit and equity can often be seen as opposing concepts in some contexts. Meritocracy rewards individuals based on their achievements, potentially leading to unequal outcomes. In contrast, equity seeks to ensure perceived fairness and equality of opportunity, sometimes requiring preferential treatment for perceived disadvantaged groups to achieve equal outcomes. Striking a balance between these two principles can be challenging, as there are trade-offs between rewarding individual efforts and addressing perceived systemic inequalities. While merit and equity serve different purposes, they are both important considerations in various aspects of society. Striving for a fair balance between the two is often the goal to ensure that individuals are rewarded for their efforts, while addressing systemic injustices and inequalities. There are some downsides to consider when hiring and promoting is accomplished solely on equity. Perceived discrimination. One of the primary concerns is that some equity candidates may feel that they were hired based on their diverse characteristics rather than their qualifications and skills. This perception can lead to feelings of unfairness and resentment. Reverse discrimination. Society must consider reverse discrimination claims, such as denying and overlooking white males and Asians. In some cases, individuals who do not belong to historically underrepresented groups may claim reverse discrimination if they believe that they were overlooked in favor of diversity candidates. This can lead to legal challenges and workplace tension. It is by design that white males are unfairly deemed as toxic by society. Skills and competence. Critics argue that hiring based on equity, again being forced on us by companies like BlackRock and Vanguard, prioritize diversity over skills and competence. They contend that this could result in hiring of less qualified candidates, which could impact overall team performance and productivity. Resistance and pushback. There can be resistance from existing employees who may feel threatened by changes brought about by equity-based hiring practices. This resistance can manifest in various ways, including lower morale and workplace conflict. Then let's look at the complexity and implementation of equity-based hiring practices, which can be complex and challenging. It may require significant changes in the recruitment process, training, and organizational cultures, sometimes being time-consuming and costly. Measuring the success of equity-based hiring alternatives can be challenging. Establishing clear metrics and accountability mechanisms is crucial, but can be difficult to implement effectively. And then there are unintended consequences. Well-intentioned equity efforts may lead to unintended consequences, such as tokenism, where individuals from underrepresented groups are hired merely to fulfill diversity quotas without meaningful inclusion and career advancement opportunities. And then there are retention challenges. Retraining a diverse workforce can be equally challenging, as individuals from underrepresented groups may face unique perceived barriers and biases within the workplace. Remember, hiring using equity rather than merit as a determining factor as to whether a person is hired is being implemented by using punishment as an incentive by BlackRock and Vanguard Capital Asset Management. If companies do not comply, they are punished by the asset managers by denying investment in U.S. and international companies. It is clear BlackRock and Vanguard are our de facto masters. This is not an exaggeration. Let's break free of BlackRock and Vanguard edicts and prioritize merit over equity in hiring practices, and allow companies to build strong teams with exceptional talent that can drive success in today's competitive business landscape.